it's really not easy. I was used to that big break.
Mm-hmm.
My kids going to school and me getting me time. So being the lunch lady, being the teacher, being the cleaner, like it is a
Yeah,
lot, but
it
it's
is.
something that I feel like I had to make that
Come
sacrifice.
on, Ashley.
And
Absolutely.
thank God that he's been providing
Yeah.
us, my husband, to be able to take care of all of our needs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think people are really scared to take leaps, and that's the thing. Like they're really scared to take leaps, and I'm just like, if you trust God, not everybody
Mm-hmm.
believes in God, but the ones that do are still
Yeah.
scared. And
Yeah.
I'm like, through these groups, I found many people, single moms
Mm-hmm.
even, that found a way,
Yeah.
found online classes or
Mm-hmm.
online jobs. They've picked up little, that was a question I remember a mom was asking me, what do you guys do to bring in extra income? And there was hundreds and hundreds of responses from
Mm-hmm.
so many people. And I'm just like, this is great. Many people haven't learned to really think outside the box.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not until we're so uncomfortable and we're forced to
Yes.
that we make a change and we find different ways to do things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we know God has to turn up the heat sometimes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
you just
really
have to
what it
turn
is.
it up. Welcome, welcome to another episode of Epic Cafe on the Be Louder podcast. Today I have with me my sister in Christ, fellow homeschool mom, Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. That's a
It's
blessing. Yes,
41 today. I said it probably feels like summer outside.
it is warmer. I can, and
Uh-huh.
of course, we can feel it in the house, like because when it's negative or below zero, it's like the heater not working.
Yep.
We're layered up in the house. It'd be so cold here in Chicago. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Well, it's always a blessing to see you, Ashley, and we're gonna chat a little bit today, and let our listeners know your why in homeschooling. And so you have a very unique story as well. We all do. And I
Hmm.
just thank God to have this opportunity that many will hear how unique all of our journeys have been in leading up into us homeschooling our children. But before we get into your why, Ashley, tell the listeners who you are. Who is Ashley Merced?
Okay.
Merced. Ashley, I'll tell you name.
Okay. Um, so I'm a hairstylist. I've been doing that for since 2011. The braiding side I've been doing longer than that. I also own with my sister and brother a photo booth company, so our own little business. Um, and then I homeschool my kids and learning how to garden and all these little things on the side. So, yeah.
Awesome. You stay busy, Ashley, even with the garden. Me and Sister Angela, we talk about you all the time. And I'm like, man, Ashley just the green thumb in the co-op group.
I'm trying because all the plants inside the house will always die. And I'm just like, why? What am I doing wrong? And those are the ones you don't even got to water like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but you are doing a fantastic job with that,
thank
with the
you.
garden. And maybe we're gonna have to show some pictures because I think we may have some on our homeschool website. If not, we need to really publicize your garden, man. And I guess next we can do a podcast because we went to Eden Place and learned what that was a family garden classes we were all going to over the summer.
Yes. And I did learn a lot. I loved the hands-on, and then I loved how we did the pickling and how, he
Mhm.
taught us how to make the butter and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I did really enjoy that. I think I look forward to it more than the kids. I was
Yeah,
like,
you
so
did.
we got to go and learn.
Yeah, and that's my point of bringing it up because I mean, you took that education and you just ran with it. So I said,
Yes.
Lord, when everything hit, we gonna eat at Ashley House.
I swear, look, everybody, come on over.
Yes,
Hmm.
so fantastic. Um, And so again, like I said, Ashley, we're going to just touch bases again on your unique journey in homeschooling and all the conditions that's kind of led to you homeschooling and many parents in the country. Um, One thing that, as you know, is always dear to my heart is parental rights. And I'm always, as we both are, all of us in the homeschool co-op, um, we're always talking about, the state of parental rights, if you will, the attacks on parental rights that leads to the attack on education. And that's what I know a lot of people do realize. The attack on education is the attack on parental rights. They're
Yeah.
simultaneously. Um, and so there's a lot of discussion around whether or not our rights are fundamental. And I've said many times before, and me and you have talked about, a lot of us moms in the homeschool group, that, when we sit back and think about and listen or watch the different conversations or debates surrounding our rights as parents, even with me and my husband, we just find it very, very peculiar, just
Hmm.
kind of crazy, if you will, that
Yeah.
people are questioning whether or not our rights are fundamental when it comes to the care and education of our children. And as I sit I'm in a lot of Zooms, whatever webinars, and I just sit there actually just like, am I really listening to this? Are we really having these conversations concerning that? What's your thoughts concerning the debate around parental rights?
It's crazy to me, honestly. I read an article not too long ago where schools were basically stating that yes, parents don't need to know everything about their child, especially, with this whole trans movement. If the parent is not in agreement, then the school doesn't have to let the parents know whether or not this child wants to be called the opposite sex. And that's just crazy to me because children don't know what they want from one day to the next.
Yes.
And I have one of my teenager last year dressing totally different than what she's dressing this year. I mean, and I let her do her thing to an extent. And this year, I'm like, oh, you don't want these boots? That was the style she was into. She's like, no, like, I don't like that, So it's
Yeah.
just crazy to me how they're allowing and how do you say, like leading the child more into something that they know the child is very confused about. It's just a trend, and they're really pushing things like that. So yeah, it is crazy to me. And then parents that are really not involved in school, that like what their kids are doing, they have no idea, like the books that
Yeah.
other parents are fighting about to come out,
Yes.
and what's even being talked about in the classrooms. Like if your child feels like they can't even come home and speak with you, or if they don't want to, you
Mhm.
don't know what's going on in the classroom.
Yeah.
Some kids, they do come and they tell their parents like what was the conversation being talked about or what they're being taught. So that's how parents are getting to know what's going on. But yeah, it's just crazy to me. And is that I think that's just, I'm always like flabbergasted at
Mhm. Mhm.
here. And some people are still very much clueless to what is going on.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. And you have to sit back and ask yourself how and why. You
Mm-hmm.
know, with the age of technology, with the way we're in an information age where so much is readily available. So I guess it boils down to, you just have to be diligent. You have to
Mm-hmm.
seek it out, even though it's there. I mean, like the writing is painted on the wall. But if you're not paying attention to it, obviously you'll still miss it.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I
I
just
I think the other day I was on the internet and I was telling someone about this, and she was calling me all kind of names and what am I into and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I didn't make this stuff up from thin air. I'm a parent, and
mm,
she didn't have any kids, but oh, I have teacher friends and they're not teaching this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna go back and forth with people constantly.
yeah, Mhm.
it'll expose itself eventually, and some
Absolutely.
people it won't. But it's crazy to me how some people still don't see what's going on. Hmm.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I've had conversations with teachers as well as with parents. And I think what they're missing, everything is not as aggressive as it is in some school districts.
Right.
Every teacher is different, every principal is different. Again, every school district is different. But for Illinois, the message we try to get across to parents here, it is the law here, right?
Hmm.
Comprehensive sex education, which is the most egregious thing they could have ever placed in school. I mean, it just shouldn't even be in school. That is the law here. It's not about what school is teaching and what school is not teaching it. We need to get it out of the school system, out
Hmm.
of the school code in Illinois. Because again, that kind of so-called, which is not education, that kind of indoctrination has no place in the school system with innocent children. And so, yeah, I too experienced that. And I'm not gonna sound like you actually. I go back and forth a little bit, I think. I think I may have a little conversation with it, but for the most part,
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, whatever. My kids at home. This is
Yeah.
a warning. We're just trying to expose because again, if it's not there, it's very likely it's going to come
Right.
pipeline. Absolutely. And so, how do you have are a lot of these conversations with Hispanic families? And if so, do how are they? Where are their minds when it comes to the education in Illinois and Chicago, preferably, and in terms of how do they feel about homeschooling? Do a lot of them feel inadequate? Do a lot of them feel they can do it? Where's the Hispanic homeschooling community?
Yes. So, I mean, most of the people that I know, of course, my family were Hispanic. And I've talked to many people about it. The question is, one, how do you do it?
Hmm.
That was my question. They're like, we're not teachers, so how do you teach your child? And I kind of go in and I tell them like what I know, what you've taught me, what I've learned. Um, Another one is they have to work so
Yeah,
that they feel like they can't be at home with their kids.
absolutely.
I do understand it's harder for single parents.
Hmm.
Um, but I did have someone not too long ago hit me up, and she actually was a client that I did, and we were talking about everything. We were talking about COVID and homeschooling. She was just saying how she wanted to do it. She just didn't know where to start. And another thing is, like she says, she feels like she can't talk about this to other people, and it was like a weight lifted off of her that she was able to talk, to me or whatever. And I would say maybe a couple months ago, she contacted me again, and she was asking, like, her son, I believe, was getting bullied. Um, and she's like, the school's not doing anything about it. So she asked, what can she do?
Yeah.
And I just gave her, the information you gave me about how to take her child out.
Hmm.
And she was just like, thank you so much. I told her about the Illinois homeschool,
I
um,
do. Illinois
the the,
Christian
the
Home Educator.
defense,
Yeah.
well, the defense, Illinois
Oh,
home,
homeschool legal defense. Yeah.
right, them.
Okay.
And she was just like, thank you so much. You have
Mhm.
given me more information than you even know.
Such a blessing.
But I think that they don't know what to do. One second.
Oh, that's okay. We're homeschoolers. Hey, listeners,
Yes,
we
honey.
all have babies running around here, so
Right.
it's okay. They will and do bombard the camera, so it's fine.
And mine will. Yes, they will. So another thing is curriculum. I get asked about my first year. I just went on a whim and ordered, I had my kindergartner going to first grade. So I just ordered some stuff off of Amazon. But that's their big concern. how do I teach them? I'm not a teacher. You know, if they didn't do so good or if they didn't go to college, they feel like they can't do it. But once I'm like, most of the curriculum comes with the parents guide, the teacher's guide, and the fees.
Yes,
You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes.
They're like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
But I think it's just taking the leap. For me, it was bothering me for, I would say, a year and a half, 2 years, what was being taught in the schools, and I felt similar. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm here today with Ashley, and Ashley is an amazing homeschool mom. And so this episode, we're talking about, um, well, I'm bringing all the homeschool moms from our homeschool co-op, CHES, which is Christian Home Educator Support System. And again, Ashley is one of those amazing moms. And I often think that I say that you guys are amazing, and I'm a little biased because you are, right, because you're part of our homeschool group and we're all an extension of each other's family. And
Yes.
so Ashley will have to jump up, those that's watching or listening, and go deal with her baby. She has how old is your baby girl? Well, she's two,
Princess just turned 3. So I have
three.
3, 5, and Lonnie just turned 8.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Janaya, she's
Janaya,
13.
13. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she's gonna have to jump up and go tend the princess.
I am, yes.
Yes.
Um, but yes, so normally it's really about curriculum, and then I get the questions about the older ones. I'm sure you have too. How do we do the transcripts? How do we get them to go, if they're gonna go into college,
Hmm.
and I explain to them we're essentially the teachers. So you're gonna do the transcript like a teacher in school would. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? As long as you have your name for your school. And again, I recently, just last week, another client of mine, same thing with her daughter. This is her last year, but I also just referred her to the website.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that being single parents, that's
Yes.
the hardest thing. That's the
Yes.
biggest thing I get is I
Hmm.
have to work.
Yes.
Um, I think it's too people having that break from their kid,
Hmm.
because it is a break sending your kid to school, and you can do and take care of whatever you need if
Hmm.
you're working from home or staying at home or whatever it is. Um, a lot of parents are not used to being with their kids literally 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, so that's another thing. And just not knowing the community, which there is a big community out there. And again, it's not talked about. Homeschooling is not talked about really, like, at all. I've
Hmm.
been hearing it more since like COVID happened,
Hmm.
but social media has its blessings and its curses. So
Hmm.
some of the things with Facebook that I found was the groups, the homeschool groups, that have also helped me um, just see everything that's out there and the way other people homeschool and how they road school and they're wild schooling and all this different schooling out there. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just amazing. We've become conditioned to like sending our kids to these government schools.
Yes.
If we can't afford it and we don't got the money to put them in private schools,
Hmm.
if it's the only way. And then comes our beliefs, right? And the
Hmm.
whole vaccine thing, which was
Yeah.
another fight for me because I stopped that. So
Hmm.
it's just a lot. And they make you feel like, the schools, oh, your kid has to. And everyone who knows me and on my social medias, I've gotten so many people coming to me, how can I do it? The school's
Yeah.
telling me I have to. How can I do it? And I do assist them and I help them and I'll give them the paper that they need to
Hmm.
filled out, because it is wrong that the government and the schools are not giving us these options and
Yeah.
making us feel like this is the only way when it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. You're
Mhm.
right. Absolutely, Ashley. And the biggest thing that you said, so many good nuggets, was the adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
It is an adjustment, because society, as you say, have taught us, that we are to we are to outsource our children, and then it's just in this box. And
Yeah.
so, what I like to tell people, they think homeschooling is new, but it's not. Homeschooling has been since humanity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Public school is what's new. Public school as we know it did not come into existence until like the 1930s. And so, this is what's new, outsourcing our children. And so prior to the 1930s, we had, church schools, where they taught the Christian, Judeo-Christian values, and so there are a lot of church schools in the early 1800s, et cetera,
Nice.
um, even further back. But again, this construct of public education really started then, and then the takeover, if you will, with the federal government, with the Department of Education. I think it happened in 1974. Don't quote me, but it's something like that. As much research as I should have done, I should remember the date. But it was in the 70s, right? In
Oh
terms
wow.
of,
So that's
yeah,
very recent.
Department of Education. And so that's why I try to tell people, no, the public school system is what's new. Parents have always taught their children. We talking about Adam and Eve. Come on now. They've
No.
always taught their
Mom
kids.
wants me to play the game.
Yeah.
Handsome wants to say hi to you. Say
Oh,
hi.
hey, my baby.
Hi!
Hey.
I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you the first time.
Okay.
Uh-oh. That's my baby Josiah. Um, so actually, in terms of Hispanics homeschooling, I was looking at some data, which is a blessing. Post-COVID, homeschooling went from 3.5% to 8.9% in the
Oh wow.
country. So there is a growth, with homeschooling in the Hispanic community, and we want to see more of that taken off as well. And
Yeah.
then as a country, of course, it just boom. It's at 9% now. 'Cause I think prior to COVID, it was 3%.
Oh
So
wow.
it just then shot up. And then here in Illinois, where we are, it went from 170,000 to 210,000. And
Wow.
it could be more because Illinois is a very flexible state when it comes to very relaxed rather when it comes to homeschooling because we don't have to report and we don't want to report. We don't want no
Right.
data tracking, no data following, you know. And so, but I think this is a good estimate. But yet, I believe it could definitely be more families homeschooling, especially in Chicago.
Yeah.
Uh, as we know, Chicago is a horse of a different color of itself when it comes to education. And
Yeah.
so CPS enrollment has been plummeting for years. And especially since COVID, they really can't place 100,000 plus students. And so the data is suggesting that those students must be homeschooled. I hope so. Yes, I think they are.
Wow.
And so that is a blessing. And again, a lot of families, including Hispanic families, once COVID hit and remote learning was in place, a lot of families got a front row seat, if you will, a window into just what they thought was curriculum is not curriculum, right?
Right.
And instruction of their children. And you were one of those parents.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were seeing some things before, but
Yeah.
once COVID hit and they were really doing remote learning, where now the school was virtually in your home, you
Mm-hmm.
really got a chance to hear and see what they were teaching your children. Tell us about that.
Okay, so before I'm gonna go back a little bit. Um, so the type of school my kids went to, I would say it was very much supportive of the agenda.
Mm,
And then I opted Janaya out of the sex ed class, and I remember her coming to me and saying one of her friends said she's lucky that I. She said her friend told her, "You're lucky your mom opted you out because I was very uncomfortable."
mm,
I was like, "Oh wow, I don't know what they spoke about, but I teach my daughter
mhm.
differently than I'm sure what they're teaching about body
Yes,
parts and
mm,
God and why he wants marriage and different things like that." So
yes,
I'm just like,
yes,
nah, I'll leave that up to me.
yeah.
Um, and then it was like they were introducing, all the like LGBT stuff,
Yes.
very much supportive of it. And then COVID hit, and I honestly, their teachers tried to do the very best that they can. My kindergartner, her teacher was wonderful. I did love her teacher. And my other one, her teacher was trying as well, but it was just I didn't like being on the computer like for all day, like all day.
Yeah.
I do like now how the curriculum we use is they're writing, they're looking for things in the dictionaries.
Hmm.
They do go on the computer for things as well, videos or whatever, but I do like book work per se,
Hmm.
type of
Hmm.
curriculum as well. um and with COVID, again, they tried their best. We would have to go pick up um packages of what they would be sending home of the work and things like that. um but for me, going back to school and having to wear masks all the time, I was not for that. Um,
Hmm.
I was not for that. And then I think that's what made me just fight and be like, you know what? I've been on reserves anyway, and it's just something that's just been bothering me, telling me like take them out because
Yeah.
of really, again, this agenda that's being pushed and the comprehensive sex ed and all of that. So when I told my husband,
Hmm.
he was just like, I'm like, I think, I kept bringing it up to him, and
Hmm.
he just was like listening, wasn't really saying
Hmm.
nothing, because it's not until I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, that he's like, okay, she's serious. So I told him, and I'm just like, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, I think you're crazy, but yeah, he's like, but I'm gonna support you if that's what you want to
Oh,
do.
amen. Yes.
And again, because I felt like for me, how am I gonna teach my high schooler geometry and algebra and
Hmm.
like that stuff for me? Once I finished high school, I was like, okay, I don't gotta use this no more. You know what I'm saying? Math was not my
Hmm.
strong suit. Um, but again, other curriculum comes with the answers, and then I have my
Hmm.
husband to help me. He helps in certain aspects that I'm not able to um, help them with, or that I'm a little weaker with.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it was really COVID that kind of gave me that push, and more along the lines of not even me being scared of my kids getting COVID, of them, I'm not going to force my kids to be wearing masks all
Yeah.
day, running
Yeah.
around in masks. And no matter how much research you give to these people, even with my baby's daycare, that was another thing, like
Hmm.
we've talked about before. I
Hmm.
gave them probably 60 plus pages of research. And for them,
Hmm.
it was, oh, well, basically, we have to abide by Head Start rules because we'll lose our funding. So it
Wow.
wasn't really the best interests of the kids. It was a
Hmm.
funding, which we know CPS got all this funding for
Yeah.
abiding by the COVID rules and all this
Yes.
stuff. So I'm like, I'm not about to play with these people. And I just had to like, and it's really not easy. I was used to that big break.
Hmm.
My kids going to school and me getting me time. So being the lunch lady, being the teacher, being the cleaner, like it is a
Yeah.
lot, but
It is.
it's something that I feel like I had to make that
Come
sacrifice.
on, Ashley.
And
Absolutely.
thank God that he's been providing
Yeah.
us, my husband, to be able to take care of all of our needs. Um,
Hmm.
but I think people are really scared to take leaps, and that's the thing, like they're really scared to take leaps, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
if you trust God, not everybody
Hmm.
believes in God, but the ones that do are still scared.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm like, through these groups I found many people, single moms
Hmm.
even, that found a way,
Yes.
found online classes or
Hmm.
online jobs. They've picked up little, that was a question I remember a mom was asking me, what do you guys do to bring in extra income? And there was hundreds and hundreds of responses from
Mm,
so many people. And I'm just like, this is great. Many people haven't learned to really think outside the box.
yes,
And sometimes it's not until we're so uncomfortable and we're forced to that
yes,
we make a change and we find different ways to do things.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so we know God has to turn up the heat sometimes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we
That's
just
really
have to
what it
turn.
is.
Yeah, and so in the state that education is in now, with so much going on, again, as we've been saying, you got the sexualization, the comprehensive sex ed that's in the schools, and it's law here in the state of Illinois. And then outside, I mean, within that, you got the gender identity, you got the LGBT curriculum, where the eighth graders cannot graduate from eighth grade without LGBT history. And then you got the
Oh,
tampons in the back.
that's
Yeah,
new to me. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that
Wow.
law passed in 2019, so that was even before COVID. Um,
Wow.
and then you got the tampons in the bathroom. I mean, so you have so many moving pieces to the comprehensive sex ed. And as much as I have dove into this and been doing my best, as God give me the strength to advocate against comprehensive sex ed to bring one into parents, one of the standards that's in that's just, I don't know, so much of it is just absolutely filthy. Um, but the fact that they want children to masturbate at third grade is just beyond,
Beyond. Mm-hmm.
beyond my understanding
Yeah.
of why would you want a baby to do that. And then for parents, the resounding alarm I would want to bring to parents is saying, these are your children.
Mm,
No one has the right to stand in front of your kid and teach these sexual explicit things. Nobody
yeah.
has a right to do that without your consent. And so here in Illinois, the parents can opt out of the curriculum. But I even pause one into that. You can opt them out, but when that information get passed through to from friend to friend,
Right.
now it could be even worse.
Right.
With kids. And then kids are not, most kids, because humans are curious, and most kids are not going to just talk about it. They're going to want to experiment because they're children. But that's what they want, right? That's the whole
Mm-hmm.
point of it, right? That's the
Yeah.
whole point of the progressive ideology. And so you got the locker rooms that are neutral gender locker rooms, neutral gender bathrooms. So our children are faced with a lot of peer pressure that you and I, in our generation, we didn't have to encounter. And
Yeah.
so
No.
in public school, we thought it was bad. I thought it was bad, but now this is over the top.
And my
This.
oldest is so closed off with herself. If she were to go to a school that's like neutral gender bathroom, like
Mhm.
anybody could walk, she would probably not even use the bathroom because she's like,
Mm.
no, I'm not. I just know how she is,
Yeah, yeah.
like
And
it's
there are reports of many parents reporting that their children would just hold it, especially
yeah,
the girls. They just won't even go to the restroom. And
yeah,
so what about their safe space? What about the woman, the female, our
right.
daughters? What about them being safe? When you have biological males, biological little boys that think they're girls, but you're not, baby. You're not. And so
Mhm.
again, where's the safe space for our innocent daughters? Where's the safe space for our teenage girls that are growing and developing to their bodies? And we all have we were all growing up teenagers. We all had our insecurities in terms of in terms of where and how and when our bodies were developing. And so it's like, have they even took into consideration all those things?
But that's
Uh,
what they're using, I think, to weaken and to start this movement.
yeah,
The children's insecurities.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly what they're using.
Yeah. And the answer is to bring biological boys into that space.
Mm,
Yeah. That'll that'll show the girls. That'll
yeah,
give them some confidence.
yeah.
Just insanity. Absolutely insanity. Um, so actually, so you have four that you're homeschooling, right?
Hmm.
Um, So how is your schedule? Because I know we do co-op on Wednesdays, and I know you keep your babies pretty busy, pretty occupied. So I know
Mhm.
you're definitely one of those parents that's saying, listen, socialization is debunked over here at Ashley's house, right? So what is your schedule when you're not at co-op on Wednesdays? What is your schedule like for the week with your babies?
Um, it really depends. I'm still working on trying to make it more hands-on
Mhm,
because my 8-year-old specifically, she loves, again, she's right now into like sciencey. So we purchased her a lot of like science kits and things like that. My oldest, she kind of gets up already, thank God, and she
mhm,
gets to her books. Like she just
mhm,
grabs her stuff, she gets to her books, she'll be listening to music. Sometimes I'll let her, sometimes not.
mhm,
Um, and my younger one, so like last year, I had to kind of really be more on my 8-year-old because she was struggling more with the reading, but this year
mhm,
she's doing so much better. So now she can get to her stuff as well.
mhm,
Um, and it really depends on when we wake up. We're not on like a set schedule yet.
mhm. And that's okay.
So um and that's for me, I wanted to try to like unschool, right? That's what they call it now. I
Mhm,
didn't want it too like going to school, you got to get up at 7, get to school at 8,
mhm,
start. Like I didn't want it so much like that. But then if I'm too lenient on my kids, they will
mhm,
take advantage. So I'm like, we need some type of rules.
mhm,
Hold on one second, princess.
mhm,
So and my son, I help him because we're learning the reading right now and he's doing really
mhm,
good. So he needs more of my attention as well
mhm,
as the baby. But
mhm,
her, I just probably put on like Miss Monica or some things on
mhm.
YouTube for her to watch. She loves ABC Mouse. I let her play that on the iPad. Um, so I try to do interactive things with them. And again, then I gotta make lunch and then make dinner,
Mhm, mhm,
cleaning in between because
mhm.
there's a lot of mess every day. So, but then I also try to think of field trips we could do.
Yes.
I am not too fond of the cold, so when it's winter, we don't go out as much. But if
Mhm.
it's something inside, like the museums and stuff,
Yeah.
I do try to take them to the museums. Like we've been talking about going to the Ark. Um,
Mhm.
where have we gone? We went to but we have like a botanical garden, a small
Mhm.
one near us. And they love it. Then they could run around.
Mhm.
They do forget that other kids are still in school. So they always, oh, can we go over here? Can they come to our house? I'm like, they go to school, you know what I'm saying? Um, but I've gotten pretty used to it. I think once they start reading, it gets easier.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, once my son, he's doing really good. Once he starts with the reading, then I feel like focus more of my attention on my baby.
Yeah, you're right. The reading is definitely fundamental.
Hmm.
It's the key. And I seen it in my last three, because I have four.
Hmm.
When I pulled Ty out, she was in fourth grade, so clearly she could read.
Yeah.
But like with the boys and Tahaji, it was once they started reading, that was it. That's
Hmm.
when the independence really kicks in.
Yeah.
Once you get them to that point, and like with the boys too, I mean, even Tahaji, they'll just get up and begin. Now we're a little bit more structured, as you know,
Hmm.
because I have a private school, and so we do have a schedule. But even though we do have to get up at a certain time, once they are done with their goals, they're done.
Hmm.
Once they hit it, the rest of the day they can explore what they need to explore. And so with that schedule, actually on Wednesdays again, Um, with co-op, how do you think your babies are fitting in with co-op? Because now you've been with us. What has it been? 2 years, probably. You've been with the co-op, maybe.
I believe it's going on 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and we just love you guys so much. It's such a blessing. So
Yes.
how do you think my babies are fitting in?
They're doing good. And Handsome just asked me the other day, "Are we going to co-op?" I love going to co-op. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's winter break right now, but yes, we will be going back." Um, I mean, I think they love it. They look forward to it.
Hmm.
And then Janaya, she's older, so I put her. Well, and they're all into their own little extracurricular activities. So she does the
Hmm.
volleyball. They were doing the Spanish on the side, which we do Spanish co-op too. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to like keep pushing it on
Hmm.
them because I
Hmm.
really want them to learn that. Jaylani's in gymnastics. Josiah was in basketball. But again, these are like all outside of school, but still those extracurricular activities. Um, and yeah, with co-op, I mean, they look forward to going to co-op. My son, he's has so much energy, and you think he's
Hmm.
like not paying attention, but like with piano, like Miss Christina said, he actually is doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we have the piano here, so
Hmm.
I've been hearing him even this week just
Hmm.
going on the piano and just playing, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, with socialization, that is a big concern with a lot of parents too. That's always brought up.
Hmm.
They're always like, "Oh, but they need the socialization." Um, I feel like we go out. We have a pretty big family as well, and there are other co-op groups.
Hmm.
That's another thing that I found within the Facebook groups that I was in. There's
Hmm.
co-op groups all over.
Yes.
Parents looking to join other groups.
Hmm.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And so Ashley was speaking about socialization, how we're constantly debunking that because often what I ask parents when they talk about, well, what about them socializing? Is always quantity versus quality. So
Mhm.
socialization is not because there are 300, 400, 5,000 kids in the school. That doesn't make it quality socialization for
Right.
kids. Then so you have to ask your, or I ask parents, when you ask about socialization, what are you saying to me? What do you think my children need to be socializing about, right? And
Mhm.
that's the problem, that our children are not sitting mute in a corner. They're doing more socialization than we are. And as you just shared, we have our children doing all sorts of wonderful things. They have all sorts of extracurricular activities that they do. And then the beauty of homeschooling is they're not only socializing with their peers, they're socializing with every age group. So then the younger babies like Princess she's learning and hearing from older kids and vice versa. And so they're learning how to be older siblings and better friends to the younger. They're learning how to protect. We go on field trips, we group and you get this and you get that. So they're learning a lot of socialization skills that they probably wouldn't learn in public school. And so their character is constantly being developed because they have to look after the little bitty ones. And so that's what I say too. Quality over quantity. I take it any day, because
Yeah.
I do not want my children being exposed to a lot of conversation. And then within the homeschool community, we know who the parents are. So we know what kind of family structure the kids are coming from. And that in itself is peace.
Mhm.
That we know, like me and your babies and Emily have the oldest kids in the co-op right now. Ronald just turned 16 last week. And so when the teenagers are talking and when they're upstairs doing what they're doing, we're not, fretting about what could they be talking about,
Right.
because I know what you're teaching at home. I know what Angela's teaching and vice versa. And so within that, again, there's peace in what our teenagers are discussing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so another question I have for you, Ashley, do you plan to homeschool Janai all the way through to high school? Like, all because I know she's in what, eighth now? What is she?
She is in.
Chronological eighth. Yeah. So you're gonna keep going.
I want to, but she would like to go to a school. So now my husband's like, that's our talk right now, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I told him, well, if we could afford it, if we could afford a school that, has our beliefs and that I know what they're teaching, I mean, if
Mhm.
that's what you want to do and give it a try. Um, but that's the back and forth with her and my husband. Like, she's trying to basically convince him because she knows where I stand.
Oh,
Um,
they know how to play on us, don't they?
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Because to be honest, a part of me is like, I want her to go and see for herself kind of what it's like. Um, because I do, like I said, I have clients still coming to me, friends still coming to me that their kids are dealing with bullying, that their kids, they want to homeschool, that their kids are not liking it because whatever reason. Um, so yeah, a part of me just wants to like maybe give her the opportunity to see. But again, when it comes to public school, definitely not. I'm gonna try to find like a some type of Christian school near us. And I'm involved, so I would definitely be wanting to know what they're teaching, going up there, sitting in if I have to.
Mhm.
So yeah, it really depends.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you know me. I'm always biased. Actually, I said,
Hmm.
listen, keep it home all the way through.
Yeah,
Because like I know for you and your husband, public school is out of the question. Absolutely
yeah,
out of the question. But and you're right. You would definitely have to really screen a lot of these private Christian schools as
yeah.
well, because as the new term goes, some of them are woke now too, right?
Right.
So yeah, so you're definitely a mom that's on top of it, to make sure that a lot of them not bowing down to
Yeah.
the progressive ideology, and it's because of money. A lot of it's just because of money, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, so we'll definitely be praying for you guys, and as God leads you and your husband in terms of that conversation, and see
Yeah.
how that works out, But of course, again, I'll be a little biased in my prayers and be like, nah, I just go all the way to 12.
Right. Like, Lord, look, just push it this way.
Yes, let's push God. Don't give them no ideas, God. Just let them homeschool all the way through. And just as you know, I did it. If any consolation, I'm telling you, it was no different than homeschooling her in high school was no different than homeschooling her when she was sixth grade, seventh, eighth grade.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew when God called us to it, that was it.
Thank you.
Any school, that was it. But it was the same. It was
Yeah.
no pressure. And like you said, math is always anxiety for parents and kids. But I didn't struggle in math in school. I thank God for that. But I mean, like you say, you don't use it, you lose it, right? And
Right.
so again, as you know, the curriculums come with the parent guide, the keys, and so a lot of the times when Ty was doing algebra 1 and geometry, I used to have to say, "Girl, go do something else." I used to have to just work it out first, and then come
Right.
to the teacher, And so, but we made it through, And I must admit, it wasn't a struggle. It
Yeah.
really was not a struggle. And I think for Ty's homeschool experience, she wasn't homeschooled, because I've been having the private school for the last 15 years. So only her first year was reported out. She was solo. So for her, she's always had kids. So
Yeah.
always had students around. Now when the Lord sent us to Chicago, there was a little transition, of course, little adjustment. Because we had to get to know people here. We didn't know anybody. We moved here.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
about a year or so, she was solo again a little bit until I started making connections and networking. Um, and then 'cause she was 15, we moved here. So
Oh
by
wow.
yeah, she was 15. And so 17, she was done. Of course, I had then graduated her out and she went to college. and we bless God for that. So it was fine, actually. It was beautiful, and I share all the time that I
Mommy.
know that homeschooling her all the way through, we dodged a lot of bullets, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of that exposure and peer pressure that I know we dodged with her being home. Yet she had socialization because we had her in things here in Chicago. She was in a lot of extracurricular activities throughout the city. So it was a blessing. It really was a blessing. And here we are, the other three. Ronald is 16 now, oldest now, and we're getting him ready for dual education with trade school. So we're looking into that. His top three is welding, auto mechanic, and I think he told me maybe architecture or graphic designer or something like that.
Yeah.
I think.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're getting him ready to transition into some of those things for education because we're big on entrepreneurialism and vocational
Yeah.
skills. And
I'm
so
glad.
that's go
No, go
ahead. No, I was just saying that's just one of the many benefits and blessings of homeschooling that the opportunities are endless for our children.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, like the entrepreneurism, because that's not really talked about in the schools. I feel like
Mhm,
for the one I went to, it was like college, 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 college.
mhm,
And I filled out, my college applications, and I was all excited to go to college because everybody else was, but I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So I believe I did get accepted, but I did not go. And I'm
mhm,
glad I didn't because, again, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I would have been in more debt.
mhm,
I think I could be wrong, but the statistic was like only 20 something percent of people are working in the field that they went to college
mhm.
for, and they're
Yeah.
in all this debt. And so that is another thing that I try to teach my kids too. And I'm glad that you guys are big on in co-op and
Mhm.
homeschool families is we don't have to go to university and college. Like there are these other trades and other
Yeah.
things that you could do. Like with my oldest, I'm trying to push her art
Mhm.
skills. She thinks she's not as good as she really is, but I'm like, girl, you
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
this, you can do this, you can make money. I try to show her the different ways she can make money with
Mhm.
it. Um, and also showing them the life skills that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like growing the food, like
Yeah.
the dehydrating, like the
Mhm.
cooking, like
Mhm.
surviving in
Mhm.
wilderness type things,
Yeah.
building. Um, the that's the thing with public schools and different schools. They all, depending on how big or how small they are, they offer different things. And
Mhm.
so the one they went to, it was pretty small, and I mean they didn't have a lot of like extracurricular. They didn't teach life skills, which
Mhm.
a lot of schools don't teach finance and
Yeah.
about credit scores and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So we've been buckling down on that. I mean, in co-op and here with us as well. I always talk to them about the business and credit and things
Mhm.
like that. So yeah, it is a struggle, and I do go back and forth with as far as like letting her go back to a high school to see. It really will boil down to like what they're teaching in their
Yeah.
curriculum for me,
Yeah.
because yeah, I really don't play with them being exposed to all of
Mhm.
that. Like,
Yeah.
no. And mine is she's very curious.
Mhm.
She's very curious, and she has a lot of questions. And
Mhm.
that's another thing, bringing her to you guys and talking to, you, Angela, Devin. They don't always want to listen when it comes from mom, but when it comes
Yeah.
from, other adults, then
Mhm.
it's like, oh, okay. My mom just
Mhm.
ain't saying stuff to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Me and Janaya have great conversations.
mhm, yes.
That's my baby. She is something else.
She
And I
is.
love it. She just come out with it. And you better be ready to answer too. You better be
Mm-hmm.
ready to answer, Janaya.
She'll have another question and another
Hmm.
follow. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But it's been an experience, and I would have never thought if you would have asked me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I probably would have said, "You're crazy. Are you crazy? I can't handle my kids for all day by myself," you know. But I don't know. It was just the sacrifice that I felt like needed to be done
Hmm.
because the world is just getting so crazy, and I
Yeah.
think most people go on a whim and hope that their kids aren't won't get exposed and
Yeah.
hope that they're raising them right. I don't know. I just didn't want to take that chance.
Yeah. It
And if
is.
my kid is exposed to something and they come asking questions, um, I like to be able to talk to them about it. And then I like for them to talk to you guys about it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Because you guys
Amen.
are, deeper into the word and you guys are veterans and know like, so much. So they were, especially Janaya, she was very much exposed to certain things in the school that I didn't like. And she would come to me saying some stuff about her friends. And I'm just like, y'all are in like fourth grade, fifth grade. Like, what are they even talking about?
Yeah. Mm.
Um, so yeah, no, I had to just get her out of there. And I am working on trying to do more field trips, trying to
Mhm.
visit, Grand Canyons. I'm very outdoorsy,
Oh
so
yes.
I feel like with being homeschooled, we get a lot more time. We can just up and go when we want. We don't have to take days from school and
Hmm.
not and they get in trouble or they fail because I believe that did happen to Janaya, a teacher. I think, oh, we took a trip to Florida and the teacher gave her an F on her progress
Mm.
report and she was so sad about it. And I was like, don't even worry about it
Yeah.
because she felt this teacher had a thing against her. And anyways, the teacher ended up leaving, but this teacher was never in school too, always taking vacations. And
Mm.
I'm guessing come to find out she moved to Florida. So I was thinking like maybe she was going back and forth to see homes and stuff.
Hmm.
But that's another thing you got to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Teach.
Yeah.
And I had to go to the school and speak with her. But she, Janaya would tell me she lets the boys cuss in the classroom and she don't ever say nothing to them. And I'm just like, really? Um, and I believe, yeah, this was fourth grade, fourth, fifth
Yeah.
grade. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, we don't play with that cussing and stuff like that.
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
So it is just a lot.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been very different. But so much has happened since COVID. Like
Hmm.
my life did like a 360 with
Yeah.
from my job. I
Hmm.
began working from home.
Yeah.
Then I began homeschooling. And I've been able to meet so many people, meet
Mhm.
you guys. And
Yes.
it's been a journey. It's been an experience and it's been pretty amazing, to be able to also inform other parents about it because again, like we said, a lot of people they just don't know
Hmm.
about the community and even what to do. And I felt lost. That was my thing. That's why it took me a year and a half to make the leap because I'm like, where do I start?
Hmm. Yeah.
But God always puts certain people in your path,
Yeah.
like, and that's exactly what happened for me. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. Amen. He does. He knows what we need when we need it, and
Yeah.
he's so faithful. And I'm so grateful that all the pieces came together in your life. And my husband and I were privileged to meet you and your husband and your family, and we just love you guys. I love you,
We
Ashley.
love you too.
Love you guys so much, and we have such an awesome time in our co-op. And so Ashley is speaking about her experience, her unique experience with homeschooling. And
Yeah.
so she's a big part of our homeschool community, our co-op. And Ashley is very outgoing. And so I tell Ashley, plan all the field trips and do it because I'm very boring. I'm very boring. I'm not very creative when it comes to field
But I
trips.
got us. I got us.
Yeah, Ashley keeps that covered. Her and her husband, actually, they are adventurous. Me and Brother Biz, we're pretty boring up here, you know.
You're so funny.
Yeah, we are. So I thank God that every measure, as the Word of God say, everybody has their grace, their measure, and it's such a beautiful thing when we all come together. And so I encourage you all to look us up, check us out. It's chessup.org, and that's chessup.org. We meet every Wednesday, and we do have a second co-op on Friday that we're growing into on Fridays.
Hmm.
Because we have so many ideas and classes, we couldn't get it all in on Wednesday. Uh,
Yeah.
but Fridays is an option for parents, because we know everybody has their own unique homeschooling going on. And so, but Fridays is the day that we all say, listen, this is on the calendar. This is what we're going to do. We're definitely going to meet on Wednesdays. As Ashley shared, we do teach finance. We teach finance year round.
Hmm.
We're teaching Spanish now, and Vanessa and Ashley, you guys are going to meet Vanessa real soon as well. But they are leading, if you will, our Spanish curriculum, our Spanish class, because we want all our children diverse and learning. Because the Black and Brown community, we got to stick together, right? Um,
Yes.
and so oh God, we teach Black history year round as well. I tell people we're not the February group. We're 365, right? So we're
Yeah.
always teaching the people that have went before us to just trailblaze, those great resilient people and the great progress that this country has made. Um, what else we got to add? So we do finance, we got the Spanish, we got the piano class. So we do have Miss Christina coming in with piano. Um,
We have writing, biblical writing.
yeah, yeah. And we
Um,
do, oh goodness, wow,
we
we do
do the
so much.
STEAM, right? Or STEAM. You renamed it.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, so we do
Smart. There
smart.
you go.
Yeah. So we do smart. I guess you can pronounce smart
Uh-huh.
SSMARTE, science, math, art, robotic, technology, and engineering. So they do a lot in that as well. Our kids, and just I mean, we just do all kinds of classes, and so we do civics education. That's another thing that really do. So we do civic education and Latin. How can I forget Latin with
Oh
Devin?
yes,
Yes,
Latin.
so Devin is teaching our both our groups. We have our elementary and our middle and high kind of flow together, teaching them Latin. So that's been amazing for them. We've been really enjoying that. And then he teach our high schoolers finance. I mean, civics. So it's just been a blessing in terms of what we're able to accomplish together with our co-op. So actually, in our closing, what will be your final words or lasting advice to parents that are even homeschooling or considering the homeschooling? What would you say to them in terms of this amazing journey that we're all on?
I would say if you're feeling alone, reach out and try to join again a group. Find someone on Instagram, find some groups on Facebook, and reach out and see who you can find to help you on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not alone, and there's so many amazing different people doing different things, different ways. And I would also say just take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times we like I said, we need to be uncomfortable and put in an uncomfortable position.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, but if we don't always have to, and sometimes if we just take the leap and trust that God will provide,
Yes,
he will.
yes,
Really
absolutely.
will. It doesn't always have to be us losing the job or kids getting bullied to an extent or things happen that we are so uncomfortable that it's like, okay, let me figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You can figure it out before that happens. And again, God will provide that job that you need to be able to do what you need to for your kids.
Absolutely.
Um, And just do research. When you do
Mhm.
research and you start to look into everything that homeschooling has to offer, it is it's amazing. It's a lot. There's conventions. There's just so much that I was like, wow, why don't people
Yeah,
talk about this?
yeah.
Um, so that's what I would just say. Just take the leap, and you could be scared. I won't say
Hmm.
don't be scared. You could be scared.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but it will all work itself out. It really
Yes,
will.
absolutely, absolutely. It is a phenomenal world. It's a
Mhm.
world within itself. Homeschooling. It's an abundance. You know, there is no lack
No.
in the homeschool community. You know, there are awesome, amazing parents, as you said, doing amazing things. You know, and so there are a lot of tools, a lot of resources. You know, wherever you're feeling lack, if you will, or may even think you are inadequate. I don't think no parent is inadequate to teach their children. I think God gave those precious babies to you. So everything that they need is in you.
Yeah.
So just know that everything that they need is there. And so you can bring alongside different people to assist you in areas, you know. But I
Yeah.
believe wholeheartedly parents can do it because God just the one that gave them to you, right? So
Yeah.
you can do it. You can teach your children. So again, Ashley, thank you so much. This has always been a wonderful conversation, and you know us with us homeschool, we can go all day. Uh,
Yes.
yes, we can. And so I'm looking forward to next week because we come back next week after the winter break. That 2 weeks went by fast.
It
Goodness,
really did.
I don't feel like I didn't have a break yet. You know.
Right. I really haven't.
No, no, because when you, as moms, when we're out on a break and we're trying to get a lot in, you know, and so
Yep.
it's never, so we need a break from the break.
Yep.
But again, thank you so much, Ashley, for your time. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I look forward to having this conversation again so that we can continue to empower parents because they need to know and believe that we are ordinary parents, if you will, right? And we all have our unique journey with what God has called us to do. And Ashley too is on social media. So as you heard, Ashley is she's a parental rights advocate. She is hitting it hard on social media with sharing that you can do this. You know,
Yeah.
so Ashley, tell them where they can find you. And then Ashley again, you know, she's an entrepreneur. Ashley does hair. She braids. She braids my baby's hair, right? So let them know where they can find and link up with you for information because again you are a strong advocate for homeschooling and what's happening in the country and in the state of Illinois.
Right. So on Facebook, I am Ashley, and then Works Magic is one word. Um, one second, princess. So Works is WORKZ, and then Magic again. That's together, and then the same on Instagram. Ashley Works Magic. I wanted to say one more thing
Oh yeah.
because with teaching the kids here, we read about Harriet Tubman and we read about Abraham Lincoln.
Hmm.
And I think parents are so used to the things that are taught in school. Um, but Harriet Tubman, she
Hmm.
didn't have much schooling and she made a very big impact in the world.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Um, and we learn about her still today, right? And Abraham Lincoln, same thing. I mean, he taught himself how to read, um,
Hmm.
and he was homeschooled essentially.
Yes. Yes.
And we're still learning about him today. He made a
Yes.
very big impact in the world as well. So
Yes.
I think we need to try to get that out of our minds that our kids need to learn all these different subjects to be successful because in the real world, when we get out in the real world,
Hmm.
um Greek mythology is not going to help me get a job, you know what
Yes.
I'm
Come on.
saying? And it's not going to help me know how to grow my own food when something
Mhm.
happens, and
Yes.
be able to do my finances and stuff like
Hmm.
this. So I think that's another thing that parents can just think about, slow down and
Hmm.
really see, okay, if you want your child to go to college and if your child does, go ahead and just make sure they do what they need on those transcripts, but
Hmm.
also focus on what your child is going to need in the real world, like morals
Hmm.
and learning how to just be a decent human being and learning how to survive in the world. So that's
Yeah.
another thing. I wanted to
Yeah.
bring up.
Oh, and that's an awesome point, actually. Life
Yeah.
skills. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. Every kid is not, or where their gift lie is not going to be university or college. It's not going to be their trajectory. And so you're right. We have to cultivate those vocational skills, those trade skills, which I think is powerful. You know, my
Yeah.
background is real estate. My husband is a barber, and so that's who we are. We are entrepreneurs, right? And you and
Yeah.
your husband as well. And so that comes without saying. My house teaching that and encouraging and empowering and cultivating that in our children. So yes, you know,
Oh,
life skills are hugely important for our communities to thrive. You know, so we want to encourage those plumbers, those electricians, welding. You know, we
yeah.
want to encourage agriculture, gardening and farming because that's what my daughter went to school for nutrition. But again, well, she went for nutrition, but again, her passion is urban farming, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's her gift. That's her thing too that she loves. So yes, homeschooling is a beautiful world. Parents, again, we cannot encourage you enough. As Ashley stated, take that leap of faith, and we're here to support you. There's a vast homeschool community across the country.
Yeah.
Wherever you are in the country, start doing your due diligence. Search those people out. Because the information is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Good overwhelming, but the information is there. Is nothing short of information regarding homeschooling. And if you're in Chicago, we're here. We're on the south side of Chicago. And again, you can find us at chessup.org, and that's chessup.org. And again, I'm on all social media outlets. And so again, thank you for listening. And remember, as I always say, let's keep having conversations that foster change. Happy parenting.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.